Hello and good afternoon from the Brno Expat Center. I'm Katka Baňová and I would like to welcome you here today if you're interested in learning something about forest kindergartens. I want to welcome Lucie Kulhavá, who will tell us about this. She represents the Viciny Civic Association. They've been specializing on organizing leisure activities for foreign families, parents and children and teenagers for many, many years. So she's got lots of experience with all sorts of leisure activities inside and outside, outdoors, as well as in the city. And why did we choose this particular topic of kindergartens? Well, that's quite clear. It's April. It's the time when parents have to administer their children's application forms if their children are now at the age that they should start attending kindergarten. And this is the time of year when these enrollment processes take place. Last year, we did a webinar on regular kindergartens. You can find it on our website in case you're interested. But today, for a change, we decided to present a different alternative style of kindergartens that focuses much more on nature and the environment. It is relatively new, the last 15 or 20 years or so, but there are more and more of them in Brno, and that is why we invited Lucie to tell you more about these interesting facilities. So, Lucie, can you please tell us what is actually a forest kindergarten? Because originally one could think that it is a place in the forest where they grow baby trees, but I suppose that's not the case here, right?
You're right that the name is the same, like the baby trees location, but we will talk about educational facilities, what are oriented on environmental education and on the respectful child-centered approach and the mostly outdoors education. So that's in brief the forest kindergartens.
Yeah, what sort of types? Are there any differences or are they all the same?
They are not the same. According to law, we can find the forest kindergartens. What are the educational facilities? What are under the registration of the Ministry of Education? And but the disadvantage for some parents can be the fact that they can accept only the vaccinated children. But as the forest kindergartens were in the past created much more with the groups of alternative parents, what, for example, denied it the vaccination, then we have the second option of forest educational facilities, and that's the forest clubs. Forest clubs accepted not vaccinated children, but on the other hand, they cannot follow so strictly the rules of Ministry of Education and the curriculum of Ministry of Education. So depends what type would you like. And then we can say that we have private and public facilities. Private facilities are very often under some NGOs, and the private can be created by the municipality. For example, in Brno, we have Brno Bosonohy, the part of the city, what arranged 2 years ago forest kindergarten. For the part of the city is the biggest advantage the price, because build a forest kindergarten is much more cheaper than build a building for the classical kindergarten, what we know as a state kindergarten or public kindergarten in the city. So
Okay, and so does that mean that all of the forest kindergartens nowadays are very, very alternative? Or what kind of parents are mainly the people who send their children to forest kindergartens?
That's a really interesting question because time changes, and in the past it was really the way more for alternative people what doesn't want to have what don't want to have children in the public kindergartens, but right now it's much more common to combine both options. For example, you can send your child 3 days a week to the forest kindergarten and then 2 days a week to the public kindergarten because it's much cheaper technically, and yeah, we can talk about the prices of the forest kindergarten. But a lot of people really like the option to have half a week the child in one type of the kindergarten and then the rest of the days in second type of kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. So since you mentioned that the forest kindergartens are mostly private, that means that they are probably paid. So what is the usual price that the parents would pay per month for such a forest kindergarten?
It depends if you choose the kindergartens in big city or, for example, in the village, but we will talk about Brno. And in Brno city, the price is between 8,000 to 12,000 per month, per 5 days of attending of the first kindergarten. So, but mainly of the facilities will offer you just only few days in the week. You can choose, for example, I want to have only 3 days in a week or only 2 days in a week of attending of the kindergarten, and they will respect it. It always depends on the deal with the forest guide, aka teachers in the forest kindergarten.
Okay, now are there any ways to get any extra funding? Do the parents have a chance or do the kindergartens do it?
Time to time, the kindergartens can apply into the call, but it's not very often. And the parents, unfortunately, don't have this option. But on the other hand, if the kindergarten have a good fundraiser and or project manager, they can apply in various foundation, and then they can lower the prices for the goal group of parents.
Mm-hmm. All right, so if a child goes to the forest kindergarten, which is paid 5 days a week, then the parents are paying for that. Does that include the food as well?
Depends, but the practice usually is so that you pay for attending in the first kindergarten, and the second payment is the payment for lunches. But the system of lunches and eating can be as well different, depends on the provider of the first kindergarten. Either you can deal that you will have your own boxes with the lunch from home, or some kindergartens prepare the part of the meals together, for example, like cooking over the fire, or they can buy the food in elementary schools or by other providers what they like. And usually it is so that they have a poll or they are voting what type of providers the parents would love to have in the first kindergarten.
So you mentioned cooking over the fire. That's certainly alternative compared to the classical kindergartens. Now let's look at what makes the forest kindergartens so special, so unique, so different from the regular ones.
So for many of the parents and children, that's a big focus on being in the nature. So outdoor learning, outside, and exploring the nature and animals, plants around us. And then definitely the focus on exploration and safe experiment, because nothing is better than just your own experience. So, for example, the kids or the children in the forest kindergartens, they take care on the chores or on the daily routine. So they, for example, help to prepare wood for the fire, or they help each other to wash the dishes, or they help with the preparation of the meal, or with, for example, preparation of the clothing or equipment for sleeping. So, and as a result, you will have really independent child at home, what can one day cook for you a pasta, and you will have family dinner.
That's quite useful. By the way, I forgot to say, if you'd like to send us any questions that you might have, they will get to us. You can write them through Facebook, and we will try to answer. So feel free to do so if you have any questions directly. If you come up with questions a bit later, Lucia's contact will be still featured on the website of the event, and you can contact her directly as well later on. Now, what sort of place is actually a forest kindergarten? You spoke about the main focus of the learning, but what kind of place it actually is? What does it look like?
Yes, usually you can find the forest kindergartens in the garden areas, in the garden colonies around the city, or in the parks, or for example in the bigger garden what has your part of the city. So, but it's connected with not good or little bit. You don't have such better access by public transport. Usually you need to count with a walk to the forest kindergartens, but it's a daily workout for you as a parent, and it's time together with your child. So just doesn't work so very often that you can go by car in front of the first kindergarten, but you need to walk somewhere.
Well, that's a nice way of looking at it as well, because by bringing your child to a forest kindergarten every day, it means that you get to spend some time outdoors as well.
Yep.
With your child.
Definitely.
But you just have to basically calculate with this special daily commute to some nice natural environment.
It is so, because the main idea of the forest kindergarten is to being outside and spending time in the nature. Then definitely you cannot expect a building like main type of the spot for, or of the space for sleeping and cooking, but usually it's some type of the tents. So we can have teepees or yurts, or some mobile cabins or something like that.
I was just going to ask, is there no shelter whatsoever? But you just actually mentioned that there is some sort of shelter still present, although
yes,
the kids are outdoors most of the time.
Yeah. So yeah, you can find some nature-based shelters, And it always depends on the providers and on the area when the kindergarten is located.
Okay, you brought some pictures, so let's just flick through them.
Yeah, that's some mobile cabin, this type. And here you can see the teepees and some type of something like a yurt, but it's a tent.
So there are different types of
Yeah.
facilities. That's probably inside the cabin, is it?
That's inside in the cabin. How does
Yeah.
it look like?
What do the kids do when they're inside?
Usually they can spend their time for eating meals or for sleeping. That's the most most practical thing what they can do inside. And when it's super bad weather, they are inside. But almost all of the kindergartens really prefer to be outside with kids.
Okay.
And every weather. So
All right. Last but not least, what's this lovely little building?
this lovely little building is toilets. So very often you can find these type of toilets, like the dry toilets in the forest.
So indeed, you're in nature and doing everything the natural way, but many parents actually want their children to spend their time outdoors in all sorts of ways. Now we're getting to what a child needs to spend the day in the kindergarten. Can you please take us through the different things?
Yes, definitely you should count with different equipment than in the state kindergarten would have much more time indoor. So you will need really good outdoor clothing and waterproof boots and gears, and definitely rainwear as well. So what you can expect is work with layering, because that's the most important thing. But on the other hand, when you teach it to your child, then it's the knowledge what you can use your whole life, because a lot of adults doesn't know what layering means and how to use it in a bad weather. So definitely you need to have a base layer, what is usually something from function wool like merino, and or these similar materials. And then either if you are sweating, so then you are in dry clothes, and you are in warm. So then doesn't matter that outside is freezing or raining or something. So the base layer, it's really important. And then the outer layer should be some waterproof set. And what is very important, especially for colder months, it's balaclava, either for from wool. So
yeah, we've got a picture here. So as you can see, there is the rainproof gear, caps, gloves, wellies, boots, warm layers of clothing, thick socks, and the indispensable balaclava, which you can buy. Now, all of this could be quite expensive, but where do parents usually buy these things?
So you can buy it in special e-shops or stores. But I need to say, if you decided to buy all the equipment new, it's really quite expensive. But definitely you can use a lot of swap groups. Either you can find it on Facebook, or you can use exchanges what are arranged by some maternity centers, and always you can find something useful for much lower price. So, and then when you're going to be a part of your community in the kindergarten, always you will find parents who want to swap something, or who want to send something, some parts of equipment away, so for nothing, or just for some help, or something like any type of barter.
So basically this sort of clothing proves that, as they say, there is no bad weather, just inappropriate clothing, and when you have good clothing, the children will be not only staying warm, but they'll be fit and healthy, which I think is very important. I think that's one of the important aspects of the forest kindergartens, right?
It is so, because if you spend so many hours outside, then definitely you will have less illness in your family. So
yeah, which
I
is very
recommend
much
it.
the effect of public kindergartens. We can both attest, I would say. Now, looking at beyond the equipment, looking at what the children are actually learning, you mentioned that the official private forest kindergartens that do have the certification of the Ministry of Education, they're following the curriculum. Then the forest clubs are a bit more free, but what is it actually that the kids learn in the forest kindergartens?
Yeah, like in the forest kindergartens, your child will learn the same like in the public kindergarten. And so it means they will know the colors, shapes, numbers, and definitely other things. But the difference is the system of learning. So it's always through play and exploration, and the big focus is on a free play. So it depends very often on the decision of your child, what wants to do in the moment where is the space for learning. So the children can choose what they prefer, and then the forest guide, what is the teacher in the forest kindergarten, just follow him and can advise him, can help him, but the main person of the education process or proceeding is your child. So like then it depends on the personality of your children, what they would like to do, and like in general the alternative systems of education say that to be bored is nothing wrong, because if you are bored, then you have much bigger space for imagination and for the experiment. And for example, if you don't have a doll as a toy because you don't have it in the forest kindergarten, then you can create it with just wooden sticks and piece of rope and these things. So it's much more creative spot.
So children are playing, but at the same time they're learning something.
Definitely.
Now I'm thinking, if your child is in a forest kindergarten and you like the fact and you would like your child to continue the education in a similar manner, and your child is then due to begin primary school, what are your options? What can you do? Are there forest primary schools?
Definitely you can find forest schools in Brno as well, because as the children are older and older, so then some parents decided to create the system of forest schools. So we have some forest schools in Brno, or you can continue at the elementary school, what is the combination of alternative ways and classic ways. Usually it's a Montessori system of schools, so we have a lot of public schools would have Montessori classes, and then you can find Waldorf schools, for example, as well, or that we are talking about the public elementary schools, but then you can find the private schools with alternative systems as well. Very often it is so that the provider is a church, so you can go this way as well. Or then you have an option to be a homeschooler. That's the third option. So how to finish the elementary school.
And if your child attends a forced kindergarten, but we know that legislation actually prescribes the last final year of kindergarten before starting primary school is actually compulsory. What do you do then? Can a forced kindergarten pass for this, or what do you do?
If you decided for the forest kindergarten, what is registered by the Ministry of Education, then the system is the same. You enroll your child into the forest kindergarten, and then after 1 year, it is the education, preschool education is complete. But if you decided, for example, for not registered facility, what is forest club, so then you need to go for enrollment to the public kindergarten, what is in your catchment area, and they will accept you, and then you can deal with them that you will have just your private education plan. You're going to be a homeschooler, and you will just say then the name of the facility, what you will visit. And then in the end of the school year, they will invite you for exams, or your child will be invited for the exam. And it's just a very simple exam what your child knows. So, but definitely we can say that from the first kindergarten or first clubs, the children will know the same knowledges as from the public kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. How does the day go by? Does the time schedule of the forest kindergarten run the same way as in the public kindergarten, or is it different in some way? How is it organized?
Of course, it's very similar. Like, what is the advantage from my point of view are slowly mornings, because if the public kindergarten starts at 8:30 latest, then in the forest kindergarten you can deal regarding your needs or needs of your child, that you will come later, and it's not an issue usually. So very often is the delayed beginning around 9 or 9:30 in the morning, and so then the kids have morning gathering, like morning circle, and where they talk about the feelings, the expectation of the day, and they have a spot to slowly begins the daily education. Then usually you can expect morning snack, and after the morning snack, what is preparing together with children, and then continue very often some small walk or hike or expedition. So it depends on the daily plan of the first kindergarten. And then will be the lunch. So if you are on the expedition, then usually it's a snack what you have from home, and if you spend time in surrounding of the first kindergarten, then very often it is so that the kids help you to prepare the dishes on the table, or to a little bit heat the meals, and they help you with the daily routine and chores around the lunch. So and after the lunch is the rest time, and but the rest time works like on the other hand in a lot of public kindergartens works it so that it's not mandatory to sleep, but the older generation can say that it was mandatory, but now kids can choose. Who's really tired can go to sleep, who want to play can spend time with free play or with hearing some fairy tale or with, for example, filling some worksheets with the educational tasks and so on. So what is quite interesting is that during this lunchtime and rest time, you can meet a lot of grandparents in the kindergarten what are usually reading fairy tales on some stories, what are talking with kids, or they can change their experiences, for example, with some crafts or with the memories from the past and so on. So that's, from my point of view, really great because it's multi-generation contact. And then after the rest time, usually in the afternoon, it's a space for free play, and the kids can have time again outdoor and take a snack and just make a choice what they want to do outdoor.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the grandparents being in kindergarten. I think that's quite interesting because I'm not sure, I don't think it happens in the public kindergartens much. Are the parents involved in some way as well? Can they have some contact with the kindergarten?
Definitely, they can, and I just want to add to have a grandparents in the kindergartens. It's quite common in the public kindergarten as well. You can have a reading grandpa or reading grandma, and they help usually through the reading about some stories, so they help with the with the kindergartens to spend multi-generation time. So it is something what's changing and what's new, but it is so. And the parents definitely are involved into the running of the forest kindergartens, because the forest kindergartens really needs help of the community and help of parents. So every good idea is warmly welcome. For example, if you are a craftsman and you can teach children how to work with wood, or if you can, for example, explain them something about nature or any other knowledges, so it's always helpful. And on the other hand, the equipment of forest kindergartens is very often just created by the your friends or by the group of the people, and you need to take care about it. So then usually it is so that it's a little bit mandatory twice a year to attend a board gathering and do something for the equipment of the forest kindergarten, repair something like the wooden benches around the fireplace and so on. So.
And when would that take place? After the parents come from work?
Not usually during the weekends. So, yeah, and but it always depends because it depends on the time possibilities of the parents and of the forest guides and the community. Always it's about the deal of the community.
So I like the fact that the kindergarten makes a community together, that it's the forest guides, the children, the parents, even the grandparents. It sounds like that the kids will probably have some nice memories from spending their childhood this way. Plus, they will be healthy, which is quite useful. Now, we've come towards the end of at least the questions that I prepared. So is there anything more that you'd like to add about the forest kindergartens in Brno?
So, like IQUES, you can find more and more forest kindergartens in Brno because it's quite famous way how to educate, to make a preschool education of your child. So definitely, if you think about it, don't be shy and Google the forest kindergarten in your part of the city, and definitely you can find nearby your household.
Okay.
Something.
If there are any questions, now's the time to actually type them. And while you do that, I would perhaps like to mention that next week we actually have another very nice event, which is indirectly connected with kindergartens, but very directly connected with both Lucie and nature, because there is a community garden which you can be involved in as a family or as an individual. So if you're interested in pursuing some time outdoors, growing flowers, growing vegetables, or just basically spending time with other locals and expats alike in the fresh air, you're more than welcome to join us next Monday. The details of this community gardening event are on our website, of course, and you're more than welcome to come and join. And that is, of course, accessible to all adults or families. The environment of that particular garden is very welcoming as well, and there is a playground nearby. It is easily accessible by public transport, I would say, on the outskirts of the city nonetheless, so the best of both worlds. So that's an invitation to next week's event. And of course, at this time of year, I have to emphasize that our biggest event of the year is coming up, which is the Brno Expat Fair on the 16th of May, where all sorts of companies and community clubs and entities and also lots of international food stands are going to be present. It's going to be very exciting again. So we look forward to welcoming as many of you as possible to this particular event. So it seems that there are no questions at this moment. As I mentioned, if you have any questions later, feel free to go to the page of today's webinar. You'll find Lucie's contact information and you can contact her directly and ask. Thank you very much, Lucie, for coming and for explaining forest kindergartens to us.
Thanks for the invitation.
And all the best. Have a lovely springtime indoors and outdoors.
Yes.